Welcome to the Irish Farmers Journal Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Ornua, the home of Irish dairy.
Hello, Amy McShane here, journalist with the Irish Farmers Journal, and welcome to this week's podcast. On Tuesday, a formal protocol on beef exports to China was signed by Minister for Agriculture Michael Creed and the Chinese Minister in Dublin. Here, Michael Creed discusses the progress of gaining market access and says he will be disappointed if there are no Irish plant inspections this year by the Chinese authorities.
What progress has been made towards opening up China to greater exports of Irish beef?
I think what we can safely say after this morning's meeting is that it's a case of when now rather than if. There has been very considerable engagement over a number of years. I mean, in 2015 they lifted the VSE ban. We have a number of technical steps that we need to move through since then, and a lot of those hurdles have been cleared. The next step will be for officials here to engage in a detailed analysis of their consumer safety legislation, veterinary certification, and then it'll be an issue of a delegation from CNCA, which is their agency responsible to approve meat plants here for export. So I think what we can safely say, it's a question of when now rather than if, and we're working as fast as we possibly can to make that happen as quickly as possible.
Yeah, timeline, any ideas in actual time when it might be come to fruition?
I'd be disappointed if we didn't have plant inspections in 2017.
And how important is this, given that all of the jitters over Brexit, the potential dangers to the Irish beef market in the UK, how important is this potential market opening?
Well, it is part of a Brexit strategy. I mean, this is a market of 1.2 billion people, so even a small bit of that market. I mean, their beef consumption, is increasing significantly. It's moving towards, certainly with Chinese middle classes, towards European norms. So that westernisation of diets has seen, for example, China become our second biggest export market for dairy. It's our second biggest export market for beef, for pork. So it has the potential to be that significant in terms of the Irish beef industry, which is uniquely exposed in the context of Brexit amongst the 27 member states remaining in the European Union. So it's a key part of our Brexit strategy as well.
Minister, the Brazilian beef scandal, do you think that has actually helped our case because China imports a lot of beef from Brazil?
It does, and I note that they have in fact reopened, they did suspend but have reopened exports or imports to China from Brazil. But yes, I think one of the things which is our unique selling point as we go abroad is our commitment to the highest standards of production, our traceability, our safety of food, and increasingly the sustainability of our production system. So I think that gives us a selling point over any of our international competitors. With the Brazilians, I mean, with South American beef, generally, where we have a level playing field, we don't fear competition. We meet the highest international standards. We're in 180 different countries around the globe, and we're not there purely because they like the Irish. We're there because of the commitment to excellence. The commitment of our farmers to that excellence, but also the commitment of the food industry, working in conjunction with the department and agencies like, for example, Tagus, Borbia. I think it's that collaborative approach that gives us an edge in the marketplace.
Can you put a rough value on the potential for this if we did get up and running?
No, I won't go down that road, Damien. I think that's a call for the industry themselves to make. To open a market as significant as this, though, and to look at, for example, China's the second biggest market for pork. It's the second biggest market for dairy. Gives you an indication of how significant it could be.
And will there be restrictions on the amount of beef allowed into China? And what are the specifications?
Well, on the protocols that we've signed today, it's for frozen beef and it's for beef under 30 months.
Okay.
From a plant inspection point of view, can you talk about how many companies you're engaged with on that, or how many plants will be looking at certification?
There are a very, very significant number of plants have expressed an interest in this, and that's obviously an issue for CNCA, which is the Chinese agency in that area, to deal with the inspection process. But that's for later this year. But there's very, very significant interest, and I've met with Meat Industry Ireland in this regard about access to the Chinese market. Everybody wants a slice of this.
Are you frustrated at all, Minister, how long this is taking?
Well, look, I mean, I was in China in September. We raised some specific issues with the minister. Then AQSIQ had been here in January of 2016. Last September, we hadn't got a report. After engaging with Minister Xu Ping, who was here today, we received a report before the end of the year. We've managed to respond to the issues they raised. As a consequence of that, we now have the protocol. Of course, I'd like this thing to happen tomorrow. But we don't hold all the cards here, and I'm very, very satisfied at the commitment of Minister Xu Ping and his officials. So I think 2017 could be a significant year for this.
The Irish Farmers Journal podcast, online at farmersjournal.ie, on the Irish Farmers Journal app, and on iTunes every Thursday.
For the past 2 years, the Irish Farmers Journal has been looking to establish a standalone mixed grazing farm. Discussions had been ongoing with the Grogan family, and from January this year, the Tullamore farm commenced. A 100-cow suckler herd has already been established, with a sheep flock to be established also. Here, Irish Farmers Journal editor Justin McCarthy and beef editor Adam Woods give an update on the launch of the new farm.
Hello, this is Thomas Hubert, news correspondent with the Irish Farmers Journal. I'm joined today by Justin McCarthy, editor of the Irish Farmers Journal, and Adam Woods, beef editor here. And we're going to talk about the Tullamore farm that the Farmers Journal is starting as we speak. Maybe start with you, Justin, for a general introduction. What is this Tullamore farm?
So, Thomas, for the past 2 years, the Irish Farmers Journal has been looking to establish a standalone mixed grazing farm. And we were pretty demanding on what we were looking for. We were looking for a farm that was accessible to farmers in a good location, had the land type similar to what a lot of suckler and sheep farmers were actually using. It was large enough to keep one full labour unit, so one man busy, and it belonged to a family that I suppose bought into something similar to what we were trying to achieve. That discussion has been ongoing, and the search has been ongoing for 2 years, and we've been in discussions with the Grogan family now for, I suppose, 14-15 months in relation to taking over what is their family farm on a 15-year lease. And I'm delighted that in the Farmers Journal, Adam goes into detail on that we have secured that farm, and that as and from the 1st of January this year, we have created Tullamore Farm, which is the legal entity that is farming this 200-acre block, and we have established a 100-cow suckler herd on the farm, and will also establish a sheep flock to run alongside the suckler farm.
So we already have a number of research farms around the country. Some of them the Irish Farmers Journal is already involved in. Why a new one?
I suppose we're very keen that the Tullamore farm actually complements you mentioned the other farms, the Derry Patrick herd, the New Ford herd, all doing great work. But I suppose what we're looking for is this is a mixed grazing farm, so it brings a very new element to it in terms of operating the suckler farm alongside the sheep flock. I suppose why the Farmers Journal doing this, Thomas, in the Farmers Journal we're very passionate that efficient suckler and sheep farms have an important role to play in the rural Ireland, and indeed in sustaining rural communities, whether through jobs in the co-op or in the local shop or in the marts or whatever the case may be. And we're also very passionate that efficient suckler and sheep farm can generate a good income relative to the labour input that is required. And I think we have shown through the Teagasc Farmers Journal Better Farm programme that there is money to be made in improving the efficiencies. And again, in the Farmers Journal, we've been working very hard to develop new technologies in terms of how to communicate with our readers, and with over 300,000 people engaging with us now every week, we just see how we can look to develop that offering. And certainly the establishment of this farm is one way to give farmers and our readers and our viewers a much more complete insight into what we do and to what we deliver. And we fully intend to use the latest technologies, whether it be social media channels, videos, online platforms, or the Farmers Journal print product, to actually bring this farm to life for farmers. And I suppose finally, Thomas, we are very acutely aware that our business depends on farmers, and this is our way of giving something back and acknowledging the importance of the suckler and sheep sector to the Irish Farmers Journal.
Okay, Adam, take us there. What does the farm look like?
Okay, Thomas, so the farm is located just outside Bracca in Screggan, a site which is close to the most recent site of the Irish, the National Ploughing Championships, and it's 200 acres. It's split into 3 different blocks: 120 acres, 60 acres and 20 acres. 60% of the land would be described as pretty free draining and quite good, while 40% would be described as quite heavy, and it's going to take some drainage work on that 40% to bring it back into, I suppose, full production and full efficient production. At the moment, I suppose the farm is divided into about 20 divisions, so they're quite large grazing divisions, but we're working on that, and we're putting in some, we'll say, cattle fences, which is a single strand and double strand electric, and we have a plan there in place to erect quite a lot of sheep fencing as well, so that we can graze it in an efficient manner and in a paddock system.
Okay. I suppose the first step in a business like this, like any farmer starting up, is to get our hands on some land. So maybe, Justin, what kind of a lease did we get for this farm?
Yeah, I suppose we were very conscious, Thomas, that the lease would actually be something that other farmers, whether it be the landowner or the person looking to farm the farm, could actually work from, could use as their base. We took the IFA master lease as the base to which we operated, but put in a few interesting tweaks, not all for our own benefit actually. As I mentioned, the Grogan family and ourselves, we sat down round the kitchen table, no more, no less formal than that, and basically thrashed out what both parties wanted and tried to make sure the lease actually reflected that. And we were very keen from our side that the lease actually helped both the landowner and the person farming the land share a level of the risk. So what we have put into the lease actually is a 60-40 split on capital expenditure. As Adam talked about, there's quite a bit of work that's going to have to be done to the farm in terms of putting in roadways, fencing. We're very lucky the sheds are actually in very good condition, so that limits it. But we have agreed a 60-40 split on capital expenditure. So we, for every €100, we spend €60 on that, and the Grogan family contribute the other €40. And that means that we've both got skin in the game in terms of the development of the farm. They're very pleased to see their farm developing and see the new infrastructure going in and the reseeding going on. But at the same time, we have to be conscious that we only have the farm for a 15-year period, so we have to minimise our risk. And that was part of that. Probably the biggest complication, Thomas, was not actually agreeing the land rental fee, and that's something I know a lot of farmers will be interested in. We're fully transparent on that. That's €140 per hectare. I wish €140 per acre for the farm, with 2 rent reviews based in over the 15 years of the lease, and those rent reviews are linked to our beef price. But also, I said probably the big complication was managing the single farm payment, or the basic payment, and we, I suppose, teased out a number of options, a number of different scenarios, and as you do, you try to predict the future, which is something nobody can really do as far as the cap is concerned. So what we've come up with is basically an understanding in the lease that any area-based payment that the Grogans would be entitled to, so they would basically get their basic payment, their land area-based payment. But any payment that was linked to actually production, even though it may be paid in an area-based, would be for the farmer, e.g. ourselves. So we would get the sheep scheme payment, we'd get the glass, we'd get the disadvantaged area payment, and we're very hopeful that, given the announcement that Minister Creed made last week in the reopening of the BDGP, that we will be able to claim the BDGP payment as well on the suckler herd. So I suppose it's trying to get a workable system that actually protects the interests of both parties in relation to the future of the cap. It wasn't easy. We probably haven't considered everything in it because there's so many different connotations, but we are quite confident that it is something that can be workable and that we can manage.
So that's the lease signed and sorted out. Now, boots on the ground, how are you going to manage the farm?
Well, Adam has been taking a lot to do with the day-to-day management of the farm at present. I'm sure that our listeners can appreciate when you're starting this up and you have contractors on the farm, and it's much more than just management of the stock. It's management of a lot of people in the farm and management of budgets. And Adam is looking after the budgets. But overall, we see this coming very much as a one-man labour unit. We have employed and recruited a farm manager, Ger O'Dwyer, who has a great background in terms of grassland management and in terms of breeding and whatnot, and he is basically going to be in charge. He'll be supported by our livestock specialist team, who will meet probably initially once a month in the farm just to tease out any issues and give Ger plenty of support. But primarily, when we get the farm up and running and get everything settled down, it'll be a one-man labour unit with any extra work, any extra labour requirement, I suppose, brought in on a casual basis and accounted for in the annual accounts.
I suppose we're conscious of that as well in terms of, I suppose, Gerald's time, that it has to be sustainable from a financial point of view and also from a labour point of view, and that's why we've built in a casual labour budget into the system as well. Again,
we're looking at a typical one-man farm, so we're trying to reproduce that and be like the average Irish farmer.
Yes,
nothing he couldn't do.
On this farm, we don't have maybe that family labour that comes in on an average, we'll say, Irish farm, but we'll have to account for that in our finances.
Okay. Now, Adam, the beef system on the farm, what is it?
Yeah, so we're we've planned and budgeted for a 120 cow suckler herd, and that's built around a very high index, we'll say replacement index cow. And irrespective of breed, we went after was the highest index we could get, and that has just turned out to be a predominantly Limousin cross cow in the herd. But we've some Semmenthals and we've some Belgian Blues, but predominantly Limousin cross, and they would be bred to, we'll say, a high replacement index bull. We'll say we've some Limousin stock bulls purchased on the farm, and we've also an Angus stock bull purchased on the farm to breed our heifers. And we'll say the main focus of the breeding program on the farm will be to breed high quality replacements for the suckler herd. So we envisage that we would have maybe a sale in May time every year of maiden heifers suitable for replacements for a farmer that doesn't want to, we'll say, go to the trouble of breeding his own replacements. And the male progeny from the suckler herd will be finished at 16 months. So we would hope to have them out in June, July time, and hopefully show that by using high replacement index bulls on the suckler herd, we're not taking a big hit on the terminal traits of those progeny. Again, I suppose going down that replacement route, we hope, we'll say, high health status, high replacement status, and we hope to be able to, we'll say, demonstrate to farmers, we'll say, performance figures of our stock and be fully transparent in that, so that they can buy with confidence, we'll say, from the herd. So for 2017, we aim to AI for 5 to 6 weeks, and then we'll say mop up with stock bulls for a further 5 weeks or so for the 2017 breeding season.
Okay, and we said earlier this is a mixed grazing farm, so what about the sheep?
Yeah, so sheep, we've planned, we'll say next autumn, there are no sheep on the farm at present, but next autumn we plan the purchase of 120 ewes or ewe lambs, and we'll say that this is going back to, we'll say, mixed grazing, and this is what makes this farm different. Chogga's research in the past has shown, we'll say, increases in stocking rate and increases in growth in steers and lambs from running a mixed grazing unit, so that's what we aim to show and aim to demonstrate on this system. And it also, we'll say, maybe staggers cash flow during the year, and it also maybe staggers labour a little bit in terms of running the mixed grazing. We're going to lamb a little bit later than we calves to try and stagger that labour or that peak labour demand. So it'll be, say, a high prolificity, we'll say maternal type ewe, run with a terminal type ram, and we're not going to breed our own replacements. We're going to just purchase replacements and keep it quite simple, starting the lamb around the 10th of March and finishing up around mid-April, and hopefully drafting lambs in July, August and September.
Back to you, Justin. The bottom line, I suppose, is almost the most important thing here. So the finances, how are they going to work?
I suppose, Thomas, at this early stage in the project, and it will be 3 years before we're really up to full par on this farm. But I want to be very clear at the outset, we're not trying to demonstrate here that you can run out, rent 200 acres, borrow all the money, not even have a claw hammer, never mind a tractor, buy all the stock, and that this will generate you an income. What our primary focus here is to establish a demonstration farm that will actually generate a farmer and a typical farming system a viable return. I should point out, Thomas, that if you take in the fact that we will have a labour bill of 45,000, an interest bill of around 20,000 a year, and a land rental bill of another 25,000, and we won't have the basic payment, we're probably about 120,000 behind where a normal farmer would be. Now, okay, a normal farmer has to pay his labour and he has bank interest charges, but we're 100% borrowed here on this farm as well. Just to give you a bit of background to that borrowing, 230,000 of that is a stocking loan, 150,000 is our contribution to the capital expenditure that I talked about earlier on, between the fencing, the roadways, and obviously then we have to buy a tractor and a few bits of machinery, not actually a lot because we do intend to use a contractor, but all that comes to 460,000 euros. To be clear where that money is coming from, we have actually taken a loan from the Agricultural Trust to obviously own the Farmers Journal, and we will be repaying that back to the Agricultural Trust at a rate of 3.5% per annum. So that's where your 22,000 of interest then comes into that equation. You could add on top of that then the fact that it is going to be 3 years before this farm is actually generating significant levels of income, e.g. sales, output is probably a better word, so in terms of sales. So we are going to have a working capital budget there, and on top of that. So let's be clear, the model itself of just going out to do this without access to that capital is not what we're trying to show. What we're trying to show here very clearly is that if you deploy the best technologies in relation to breeding, in relation to grassland utilisation, in relation to animal performance, and drive output of the farm, that the farm can make a very valuable contribution. We want to look at how much we're earning per hour of the farm. We want to look at how much profit we're getting per hectare. Now, that profit per hectare, we can then take off the land rent, which is €346 per hectare. We can take off the interest. We can take off the labour. And it's basically a menu that farmers can add in or take off whatever they want. We will not be making a substantial amount of. By the time we pay everything back of the farm, if we can make a break even, we will be doing very well. Adam's, I suppose, best case scenario, and no doubt we'll be holding them to this, in year 3, he is projecting that the farm will generate a cash surplus, even with the interest charges, and remember, we don't have a basic payment, of around €8,500 to €10,000. But that's not really the figure that's relevant to farmers. It's basically going back because you couldn't do this. If we wanted to try and develop a system that would make this system work, we would be going into dairying. Let's be very clear. What we're wanting to do here, I suppose, is show a commitment to the suckling and sheep sector, and show that if we can put these latest technologies into place and drive this on, that there is a very good future in these sectors, whether it be relative to the labour required. Because we have to remember, this farm is 100 cows, 120 ewes. A lot of suckler farms are 17, 18 cows. So we're trying to show it on a scale, but a scale that's also, in a way that's also applicable to smaller herds as well.
Okay. Now, where and when can farmers follow this and get more from the farm?
Yeah, well, Adam has a very detailed 2 pages, a lot more than what we discussed here in the paper, and we will certainly be very keen to take farmers' questions and give feedback. Probably the article in this week's paper will raise more questions than maybe answers, because it is an exciting project, and one that we're certainly very excited about. There'll be regular updates in print from this week on. We'll also be giving regular updates every Tuesday online in terms of at farmersjournal.ie, and the scope then is endless in terms of photography, social media channels, videos, and we do hope to hold a national open day on the farm this year. Not that the farm will be where we want it to be, but it will be to bring farmers on the journey that we're going on now with the farm.
Okay, Justin, Adam, thank you very much. The adventure begins, so we're looking forward to following that with you and the readers online and in print. Thank you.
The Irish Farmers Journal Weekly Podcast.
On Saturday, Michael O'Leary's pedigree cattle sale from the Gigginstown herd took place in County Westmeath, and the sale drew quite the crowd. News editor Patrick Donoghue and pedigree editor Shane Murphy were there. They spoke to people about what attracted them to come along to the sale, and we hear from the man himself, Michael O'Leary.
Yeah, John Hayes from Drumleague in West Cork.
John, you're a long way from Drumleague in West Cork to
yes.
The lovely rampant plains of the Midlands.
That's right.
What has you here? Are you buying or looking or tire kicking?
A bit of everything.
Right.
A bit of everything. No tire kicking, all the rest.
But what in the market for heifers or bulls or what?
Both. I'd be interested in both. Yeah.
And why do you come here? What's the? Is does the name do it, or what kind of attracts you into the Gigginstown sale?
The farm manager is from our part of the country, and he's a friend of mine, and it's a nice social day out, and it's nice to see the cattle, and it's a day away from West Cork.
And what are you looking for? When is it? Are you going by the stars, or are you going by what you see in front of you?
50% visual and 50% the stars, I'd say.
And what will you do with it? What type of, how will you run? What type of system do you run?
I breed them on and sell the offspring off them again. Breed them TI and breed the heifers, obviously TI, and sell on the bulls into dairy farmers down in West Cork.
And there's a demand for this dairy farmers?
Oh yeah, big demand.
A bit later than usual this year, or are they still buying?
No, they'll be just starting now, because they don't start using the bull till the 20th of May roughly, so they'll have them for about a month beforehand.
Ready to roll then?
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thanks a million.
Paul Mortimer, Bells after years.
Paul, you're doing this is the 20th year. You've been involved with them all the way
through, as far as I know. So time to retire.
What do you want? Like, what are you trying to get out of here?
What am I trying to get? I'm trying to get a successful sale, trying to develop the whole system here is that the best of bloodlines are being bought in, and that farmers then who buy bulls or heifers are buying the best bloodlines, and gradually it transfers like a ripple in water. If you throw a stone in, it develops and it comes in around the whole area. They have the same farmers coming back but not the same. But a lot of farmers coming back year after year, which is a proof of something.
And how has it developed over the 20 years from you sitting in the box here with the hammer and the mic?
Oh, it's increased no end in size and proportion. A small area would have done when we started first of maybe a nucleus of 100 people. Now it's gone into, you see today, there's a lot of people here. It didn't need a field to hold all the cars, that's for sure, when we started first. But it has developed through Jerry Smith and through Michael's efforts and Joe Mahoney's efforts. They've developed over the years into a very, very successful sale. And a lot of people who buy around the general Westmeath, Longford, off the area, they're all coming back. And with the result now that last year we'd have about, I'd say, 7 or 8 bulls went to Cork, which is a long, south of Ireland. A lot of the dairymen, the big dairymen down there like the bulls, they're easy calved and they're manageable type of stock.
Great, and we'll leave a few hands on the ring, so. Thank you.
No problem.
Michael, very quickly, reaction to the sale, incredible 100% clearance rate, over 3,000 for the bulls, probably that again for the heifers.
What's incredible about it? Finest Angus stock in the country. I thought we got some very modest prices for some excellent cattle. Cheap as Ryanair airfares.
Price is what you pay, value is what you get. But you must be happy with that.
No, we're very pleased. Look, we had a very good turnout, particularly from down south. I think the bulls look very well. We had a higher percentage of autumn calvers this year. Bulls sold very well, and the heifers continue to be very attractive.
So a case of 20 not out, 20 years and going from strength to strength.
Look, Joe and the team here do a phenomenal job. Every year we try to improve the organisation. I thought it went very well today. We had huge numbers. I think next year we'll have to start charging for the parking with the numbers of people we're getting here. But it's great. And long may it continue.
Joined here with Norma McSweeney, who's just after purchasing a heifer at the Gigginstown sale. So, Norma, what made you come up to Gigginstown?
For the day out and to see. I have previous stock already, two heifers that I bought here a couple of years ago, and came back to see where they came from with more friends from West Cork.
Very good, very good. And what heifer did you buy?
29, was it?
Excellent. Maiden heifer and calf?
In calf.
Very good, very good. And how did the last purchases go for you?
Excellent, very happy with them. Very happy with them.
And is it all pedigree you have at home now?
No, it's not, no. I have...
It will be, I'd say, after a while.
After a while, yeah. We're getting in that direction.
Excellent. Any plans to expand more in the coming year?
Well, I have a couple of heifers coming up from the Angus cows that we have already, so we'll continue on and building on from there.
Excellent, very good. Well done. Joined here too by Jerome O'Mahony, and he's just after purchasing a bull. So what made you come to Gigginstown? What is it that had the attraction?
For the last number of years I've been buying a bull here to an Angus bull to mop up the dairy herd at the end of the breeding season.
Killing stock?
No, I sell the calves at about 2 weeks of age, and I'm very happy with the quality. I get there's a lot of interest in the calves being sold because of conformation and of size.
Very good. So how many bulls have you purchased from Gigginstown now?
I'd say probably on my 10th or 11th bull at this stage.
So always from the annual sale?
Always from the Gigginstown annual sale, yes.
Joined here with Joe Mahoney, manager Gigginstown Angus Herd for Michael O'Leary. Good trade?
Oh, very good. Delighted with it, yeah. It's up in last year. The heifers there averaged in 3.350, and the bulls averaged about 3.2, which is something similar to last year, but very pleased with the crowd.
Excellent. 100% clearance again?
100% clearance, yeah.
It's always positive to see. Plans for next year, are you underway? Or?
Oh, bigger and better like Ryanair. But you have to keep the markets some way under control, because if you have too many and less buyers, you won't have an auction. So it's always a risky business holding a farm auction, but it's worked out well for us.
Excellent. I suppose seen a lot of repeat buyers now this year.
Very much so, and that's been the best way it's been for the last few years, especially in the heifer trade. We're getting a lot of customers coming back and on their second and third purchases.
We hope that you're enjoying this Irish Farmers Journal podcast. Find out more at farmersjournal.ie.
News editor Patrick Donoghue was also in County Tyrone at Le Patrick's site, where he spoke to CEO Gabriel Darcy. Here they discussed the importance of the full cream milk powder market in Africa and why he predicts a softening of milk prices.
The Ardegorvan site it's an old site, but it has been a much loved site. It's got 2 dryers, currently 2.5 tonne per hour output each. It makes a product called LP. LP is the brand name, and it's a full cream milk powder that is exported largely to the Middle East and African markets. It's a very popular product. It's a brand leader in those markets. We are now at the commissioning stage of expanding that footprint and going into a new market in those existing territories, and that is into the instant milk powder market, which is a very substantial market and a great opportunity for this site.
40 million investment going to put you right ahead of all the investment stages in Northern Ireland when it comes to processing.
Mm-hmm.
The vision for it, where does it come from, the genesis of it to where you are now?
Well, I suppose the vision is it's emanating really from our suppliers and from our members, who have been increasing steadily over time their output and have been mandating the management to get on in terms of identifying new markets, identifying value-added markets as opposed to commodity markets, and signalling to them, the shareholders, the investment required to realise these opportunities. And that's really what we have done. We have returned back with a very exciting plan back to the board. The board have fully endorsed that plan, and they sanctioned this very, very significant investment. And this provides a huge opportunity for our current suppliers and indeed new suppliers. And, in probably somewhat less parochial, this provides a great opportunity, I think, for the Northern Irish and for the Ulster dairy sector in terms of providing an outlet now for Ulster milk that will add significant value and hopefully gets reflected in the milk price, of course, but offers a significant opportunity to reinforce our market-leading positions in those markets that we serve.
And we'll finish on milk price, but first, LP is a market leader in North Africa, West Africa, but we're sitting in County Tyrone, we're sitting in the UK, which in 2 years' time won't be part of the European Union. The opportunities you see opportunity in Brexit, you see threats as well, but you see opportunity from where you have located your dryer.
Yes, there's now, of course, Brexit wasn't even on the lips of any of the board members when they sanctioned and when we did the due diligence on this investment. However, it being with us now, I'm happy that this investment is actually coming on just on time. Single most immediate risk, and there's a lot of risks associated with Brexit, but the single most immediate risks facing any dairy enterprise is to ensure that their processing assets are located in the same jurisdiction as their milk pool. Now that's the single most fundamental risk. There are many other risks, but that just guarantees that in the worst case scenario, in 2 years' time, if there is no agreement in terms of the 2-year negotiation, and if the whole thing comes to naught, and the Iron Curtain literally comes down between the UK and the EU, well, at least all of our dairy farmers know that they have a place, they've got a processor that's capable of collecting all of their milk and processing all their milk, and with a route to market.
And finally, milk prices recovered pretty steadily. I know markets are maybe in a little bit more of a tender place. Indeed. Your view, can you look past out 3 weeks? Can you look to 3-6 months from now?
Yeah, I would be generally optimistic. I think that what we have seen is actually a more rapid recovery in milk production than was expected. We wouldn't have expected, for instance, that the English milk producers would be back up and increasing. We didn't expect that the German and the French milk production would have rebounded so much. We knew about the Dutch scenario, and we probably did know that in the Republic of Ireland it would be quite strong. But we didn't realise that New Zealand would be not as bad as what was expected. So all of these things, we knew America was going to be strong in terms of milk output, but all of these things have fed into the general sort of softening of markets. The buyers have interpreted this recovery in milk as an opportunity to negotiate the prices down. And I suppose, given the fact that the main reason that milk has recovered so rapidly, hockey stick-like, our milk price is up 50% in the last 6 months. That was driven by more to do with producer issues and production issues rather than market signals.
Consumers,
On the positive side, oil price thankfully is showing signs of recovery, which would be positive. I wouldn't be wishing any ill will on any country, but I am aware of a very significant storm that's coming on to New Zealand. No doubt that will have some impact. But look, I think that milk prices might soften a little bit in the mid part of the year, but I do think that they will recover. They will certainly not go back to anything where we have been. We had predicted a 24 to 26p per litre in around the 31 cent per litre, and that's what we kind of more or less penciled into our budgets and so forth. And I'm still hoping that it might be on the lower end of that, but it'll be still in those price range.
Welcome to the Irish Farmers Journal Weekly Podcast.
Beef specialist Kieran Lenihan was in Longford on the farm of new better farmer Robert Abbott. At present, the herd's calving pattern is split between spring and late summer, and this aspect of Robert's system is fast becoming the main subject of debate for the management team.
It's trying to figure out the spring or the autumn which way you want to go, but I'd say in the spring system we can get them out of grass early and get them out of bed and whatever.
I wouldn't push my calving date though, just to focus around bull beef. I put it around
to suit your land.
Your land type. You have 2 young kids in there as well, so if it suits better in July to be calving than it does in the month of March or April, that's what I'd be doing, or vice versa.
Well, no, it's also in that way. Neither time worries me.
So you liked the autumn calving, didn't you?
I did like the autumn calving, but the other way is what do you do with all your spring calvers? There's more of them.
Yeah. Well, the only thing is though, if you were autumn calving here and you're 36, where would you house the calf?
For the winter, well, that's the thing. Capital investment, you were saying, and do you go that way?
Like you've only three bay shed here with a lie back this side, So
yeah, but you've got the lie back the other side.
Yeah, 5 or 6 calves. How many cows? 7 or 8? 6. So 6 threes is 18. 6 threes is 18. Really and truly, another 6 threes is 18. That's your 36 cows. You need a lie back here. Go spring, you don't.
Yeah, I know.
You'd probably fit them here. 18. You probably fit 18.
Oh, I was saying, as soon as the calves were disbudded. Yeah. Maybe up to a week afterwards.
I just had a couple of calves now, just on the ground in yourselves there. I think you're calving the 1st of March. And the great thing about that system, you can get them out of grass straight away. And on the high cane nutrition, and you'll be able to keep your calving a lot tighter. So, say going any earlier, even in the bull system, doesn't make a lot of sense, no?
No. Well, I was just saying, January, February, for the last 2 years, those calves before they got out, you were watching it for pneumonia, because things got tight here. But now from March on, as the calves out, I only injected one calf I'd left these doors open when I shouldn't have one windy night. And that's all that happened there. Living on the driest ground in the world, a bad spring, and 2 of the last 3 have been bad. You're caught.
And the other problem, I would say, a lot of people don't have good silage.
No, that's it. That's the first thing in any system, Robert. The silage, I know that. That's the first thing.
The Better Farm Challenge podcast, brought to you by the Irish Farmers Journal and Teagasc, supported by ABP, Don Meats, FBD and Keepack.
Meanwhile, farmers in the northwest have welcomed the move by the Oireachtas Joint Committee on Communications, Climate Action and Environment to support a ban on fracking. News correspondent Thomas Hubert spoke to Tommy Early, an organic suckler farmer in County Roscommon, who says fracking poses too big of a risk at the moment. Tommy also hosts tours on his farm, and here he explains why the undisturbed landscapes hold great potential.
Initially we didn't know anything about it, but we got in touch with the various companies, and there was various public consultations, and from what we were able to research on it, we've come to the conclusion that we know that there is methane in the shale bedrock that's under us here, but the method they have at the moment of extracting this, it carries too big of a risk to the environment and to the water sources that the gas could be extracted safely. Because, as you know, Dublin is going to be, they're planning to take their water supply from the Shannon, and we're only upstream of where they're planning on taking it out at that loan. So we're not anti-development by any means, but this carries too big of a risk at the moment.
And you're also acting here as a tour guide, and you have visitors coming to your farm. How does that play into your thinking on this?
Well, I suppose what we're doing here on the farm is we bring people on a tour and we show them the various habitats and how the wildlife is, how they're being managed for the wildlife that's in them. Whereas this part of the country, really what you're looking at here, if we're on a little island off the coast of Europe, and really when you see all the old monuments and old undisturbed landscape that we have, it's really like looking at an old graveyard. So the landscape here is very much undisturbed at present, which gives it has great potential in terms of tourism, because people can come and see sites that have been untouched for thousands and thousands of years. This has great potential from the tourism point of view. So if we go down the route of fracking, well, from talking to the companies, you would be looking at a frack pad every couple of kilometres on, square. So you would have hundreds and into thousands of pads if you were planning to extract the gas that is underneath us. So if we go down that route, you've turned the whole landscape into an industrial landscape. Whereas if we go down that route, and the whole project of the fracking, spoke about maybe around 30 years would be the lifespan of it. So after the 30 years, you wouldn't have much of a landscape to be inviting tourists. It would be very difficult to attract them into that landscape after that. Whereas as we are, it's pretty much undisturbed as it is. So it has great potential to go down the tourism route. We know the gas is there. It has been there for millions of years. It can at some point in the future be extracted, but at the moment it just carries too big of a risk.
Okay, thanks, Tommy.
You're listening to the Irish Farmers Journal podcast.
And finally, Una Sinnott interviews Anne Sheeran, the grandmother of global pop sensation Ed Sheeran, at the family's farmhouse in County Wexford.
It's with great pleasure that I'm here this afternoon with Mrs. Anne Sheeran of Cranhill, Gorey, County Wexford. So, Mrs. Sheeran, you've had a wonderful life, a huge love story, great work over in England, and also you have a very famous grandson, Ed Sheeran. So there's a real 360 as we see here in this living room, isn't there, in terms of this house and how you were born and raised here and then came back here. So
I came back.
Was the house still in with your family, or?
Oh, no, it was all. There was no living here. You see, my brother had sold it,
really,
and of course on the farm it's a rule that you have to sell the house with it unless there's some member of the family wants to live in it. So I wrote to him and I said, can we, because I thought, God, this would be great if you could come and live here. Yeah, so we had an awful lot of slate, a lot of damage to the house, and we got back in shape again.
Brilliant. So the brother bought the house. That's a lyric, another lyric in the Nancy Mulligan song. So.
Who bought the house?
Your brother?
Oh, no, he didn't. No, don't mind that.
Okay.
I don't believe everything he's saying in blooming song.
It's a good tune, anyway.
You see, that's exactly what they find. They try and find something that's a good tune, and they make it into a tune.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's great to be here with the lady herself. Do you know?
Yeah, because certainly I didn't have to buy it from him or anything else.
Fair enough.
So you can have it.
So you could come home here and sort of refurbish the house and do it up. And so then the idea of yourself and Bill running away and settling at the Wexford border. It
wasn't a question of running away, because we knew we could come and stay here, and then we'd have to go back anyway and get a place in London. And when we went back, we'd already earmarked a place he knew, and the woman had died in hospital or in nursing home, and it was for sale, or for renting, I think, not for sale. So we were going back to that as we thought, but all her stuff was still there when we got back from our honeymoon. And we were homeless and nearly penniless as well. And anyway, we saw an advert and followed it, and it worked out very well.
But you did celebrate your 90th birthday. Was it 2 years ago now, or one?
No, my 90th was 2 years ago.
2 years
yeah.
ago. That's incredible, alright.
I'll be 93 now next month.
Brilliant, yeah. She's some woman for now, so yeah. Yes, so now then, do you know your grandson, do you know, did you always know he was going to be destined for stardom? His love for music, was it always evident?
Well, from the age of 12, it became apparent. He was here, and I remember he was asking Bill, have you got a guitar? You know, and Bill had, but he wasn't one that had taken lessons. He just liked playing around with it himself. So, and from that, and then he wanted it for his Christmas present. He was only a kid, and I think Bill took him just to one of the groups in Waterford or Dublin, I can't remember where, and he never turned back from that. But he had a difficult time. Now, man, it was difficult to go to school and learn music to that degree. Yeah. And then, because he was very young when he first went to America.
Yes, I didn't even know he went to America. So was that with the family, or?
No. Gosh, certainly independent man.
In his music career as well.
Oh yes,
yes.
He went to America, and so he suited him over there. And he got taken on by a group, and he's still doing it, and he's still writing it, and everything else.
Oh, sure, he's one of the world's best. You know, he's up there.
Yeah, he is good.
He is. Would you listen to his music now yourself?
Oh yes, of course I would. Yeah, but I didn't listen to the one. I sent it to my sister in Paris because I got two, and one of them, didn't have the song on it.
Oh, is this Nancy Mulligan?
Yes, that's why I've never really listened to it.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. But did he always? I think he kind of a few years ago or that. Do you know he mentioned I'm gonna do one about my grandmother? Do you know? Was that something that he had said? That he always said to you?
Oh, not at all. If you told me, I'd say, "Oh, please don't."
That's just because you're so modest.
I definitely wouldn't tell him to go ahead with it. No, but at the same time, he did play me that one when he was here last, about 6 months ago, and he was leaving that day, and he said, "I must ask what you think of it," and I just laughed at him. So,
that was your sign of approval.
Well, what's the point in saying?
Oh, exactly, yeah.
You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. It wasn't essential for him, and it wasn't essential for me, but that was what he wanted.
Yeah, and that's lovely. I mean, you have a good relationship, like, you know, for him to want to mention you in his hugely successful album. Do you know, I'm sure he loves you deeply, like.
Yeah, well,
do you see him often?
I love him. He's a great kid. I must show you some photographs of him.
He may, yes.
Yeah.
He must be so proud of him, do you know, to say he's your grandson too. Do you know? I'm sure you're proud of all your grandchildren, obviously.
Yes, exactly.
But
they're all the same to me.
I know, I understand. Yeah. Do you know, just the fact that he's, has such a head on his shoulders, he's such a good ambassador even, do you know, to young teenagers, because his music...
He's very good for helping others as well. I like that. Other singers, he'll help them and write songs for them and things like that.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like the fact that he helps everybody else, because nobody helped him. He had to rough it or get on with it.
Yeah, he really made it himself. Do you know?
He
made his own.
Self-made.
And he clearly loves it. Do you know, to go through all that. And as you say, he never stops.
He'll surely have to give up by the time he's 30. I don't think he'll. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he'll stay on. What's his name? John. Elton John.
Elton John.
He's a very supportive person. Yeah.
Towards Ed?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he was. Because he went to see him when he was going for interview one day, or for practice, I don't know which. And Ed was telling me he was in this room with the other people waiting, and suddenly this man comes in, and he just about recognised him, And he said, "Is Ed Sheeran here?" And so he said, "Yes, I am." And of course he realised then who's Elton John. And of course Elton John was a fan. He'd be a great fan of his singing, yeah. And I mean, he's practically retired now, but I think they're still friends, really. Yeah, he keeps in touch.
That's incredible, isn't
it? It is really how he's got millions of friends up north, everywhere. But that's because he helps people to. If they've got talent, he'll help them.
Yes,
yeah.
And
he won't be a bit worried about whether they're going to take his place or not.
So, Mrs. Anne Sheeran, or in other words, Nancy Mulligan, thanks so much for talking to me, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So, thanks.
The Irish Farmers Journal podcast, online at farmersjournal.ie, on the Irish Farmers Journal app and on iTunes every Thursday. Brought to you by Ornua, the home of Irish dairy.